Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Lion's Show. In this episode, I'm sitting down with Brendan Tully to talk about how he's built his SEO agency or search marketing, or really his agency that delivers results for his clients and makes them money, how he's built that up to now having over 200 clients. We're going to talk about local SEO and how you can obviously justify your fees, how exactly he delivers that service. We'll talk about AdWords and what you absolutely should be bundling this into your services. We're going to talk about other types of services also that you can bundle in and add to your SEO services, because guys, the main point of this episode that Brendan wants to get across is that the way you make your money is by delivering results, making your clients more money. So that doesn't have to just be SEO, it doesn't have to just be backlinks, it could be AdWords management, it could be improving their website, it could be different things like that. So that's what we're going to get into and really break down how exactly he's built this up, what exactly he's offering, and how you can do the same to massively scale up your SEO business, your SEO agency. So it's a very cool episode. I really hope you enjoy it. There's a lot of great nuggets and recommendations and advice here, especially if you're sort of starting out and struggling with how you can justify like honestly, we get into how you can justify like $5,000 a month for our SEO service. And it's not that complicated. It's not as complicated as you may think. So let's get into the episode. I hope you enjoy it. Let's get straight to it. Tully, what's up, man? Thanks for joining me for the second time on the show. It's very cool to have you back.
My pleasure.
So last time you were on, response was like awesome. Like it's one of the, I think it's the only actually e-commerce SEO one we've had. It's extremely awesome. I highly recommend everyone check it out. But for anyone that missed it, should we go through like a little intro as to who you are again, just for anyone that doesn't know?
Sure. So my primary business is called the Search Engine Shop, and we do client SEO primarily for Australian businesses. So about 80% of our customers are based in Australia, and I kind of started the business by accident in 2008. People started me. I used to have an IT company. People, after we finished with that, people started asking about, and we had a big online store as well. And people started asking about this thing called CEO, and they actually meant SEO.
My mum says that. Like my son's a CEO.
Started doing freelance just on that, and then in 2010 won a government contract with some friends to do workshops and consulting, workshops and training for small business owners in Australia, paid for by the government. So that's kind of how I built the business. So awesome. Today we manage several hundred, the online assets for several hundred Australian businesses. Some of them tiny, like little tiny local businesses that we talk to once or twice a year, and then some of them are big businesses that we talk to almost every day, I think. So yeah,
that's cool, man. With regards to SEO, is there like a specific size you want the business to be, or a specific sort of budget or anything, or are you just working with all sizes?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. It was interesting listening to John Logar's interview with you, because John's all about go for the big clients, and I totally agree with like his position there that generally SEOs tend to undercharge massively. Yeah, I mean, $5,000 a month is pretty much nothing for a big business for a marketing spend, but I look at it from a lifetime value of the customer perspective, and I probably split it into two as well. There's like customers who you have more of a transactional relationship with, and then you have clients that you have more of a relationship with ongoing. And so long as with the small end, so long as it stays in kind of that transactional zone where they buy something from you and they get a result, and it isn't kind of this open scope where there's scope creep and they're on the phone to you every day or whatever. So long as it stays in kind of a customer relationship and it's transactional versus relationship, then it's okay to do those little, if we have clients on $500 a month SEO plans, and they've been on there since 2010, and we talk. Generally, those little guys, we end up talking. They send an email maybe once a quarter or once every 6 months, and they have something going on with their business, and they rank number one for all the terms they want, or they have an AdWords strategy that's totally dialed in. So, from our perspective, the relationship works because we're profitable. We're doing, we're getting more money than the work we're doing, so we're making profit.
Yeah.
From their perspective, they're profitable from the spend as well. So yeah, the little guys, so long as they're low touch and they're fairly automated, that's fine. And then the big guys, I'm happy to take those on as well, but I understand that they're definitely going to be high touch if someone's paying 5 or 10 grand a month, and then with 10, 20, 50 grand ad spend on top of that, they're going to want to talk.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
with regards to the little clients, the $500 a month ones and that, the big issue I see people have is they'll get, say, a $500 or $750 a month client, and even then they're so stretched that they're on the phone like every second day. Like, how do you keep them low touch customers?
Yeah, you have to be careful with the qualifying. Like, I think it all comes down to how you sell them. And like, again, coming back to John, he's really good. He's a born salesman. Like, he talks about it like to him it's so easy and so natural. But I think it's really, you got to be careful in the sales process, like the qualifying, and be clear. I mean, basically, there's 3 things you need to sell somebody. They have to have a desired demand. You have to have a trust. You have to have a relationship with them, so they've got to trust you, your product, and your business. And then they've got to have a means for paying for it. So you've got to be careful that they can afford to pay for it. Like those little businesses who are stretched and they're going bust tomorrow if they don't get customers in the door, they're going to be bad clients because they're going to want to be on the phone every day of the week and want to know what's going on. So it's really about making sure that you're clear on the customer relationship, how it's going to work, and certainly for the first 3 months, I expect us to be breaking even. I don't expect to be making any money on it. I look at it as a long-term relationship. So for the first 3 months, we might even be losing money or just not profitable or breaking even on the time, because SEO is, it's going to have a ramp-up period, and it's getting that period where they're going to see from when they see results is getting longer and longer as Google gets smarter and they close loopholes and certain things get less effective. I think it comes down to qualifying the client properly, and other guests have talked about this as well that you've had on, that you can't take on a client who's selling a $2 widget they make 30 cents profit, because they're going to need to sell 1 billion widgets to even afford to be able to pay you and have an ad spend and everything else on top of it. So it's really about client selection, qualifying them properly, being clear on the relationship. I don't like to do any business with brand new startups, startup businesses, or basically businesses where the business owner isn't commercially mature. And it's getting more difficult now as more people, you have more people getting to online retail and they just want to rank high and they just want to make money, and they're so desperate to get to the top of Google, and they really want to outsource the responsibility for the business to someone else. So you've got to be really careful with the qualifying. I find more and more, particularly there's a lot more prospects in the marketplace where you can fall into that trap where they just pile on the responsibility to you to build the business for them, whereas that's not really your role. So you need to be clear about that.
Yeah, I'm seeing people these days that messages saying that I want you to rank me #1 for this keyword and I'll pay you once you've done it. Like, build my business, then I'll just give you a commission off the top.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, they wouldn't go to a magazine or a newspaper or a TV station and say that about advertising. So and SEO is no different. And we also we generally we'll rarely do SEO standalone. So we'll always bundle it with AdWords where possible.
Interesting.
For a couple of reasons. One is SEO and AdWords, they balance out each other's strengths and weaknesses. So AdWords is fast. We can turn it on today, set up a campaign today, and within 24 hours it's up and running. Whereas SEO, we start today, could be weeks before we see any noticeable movement. So it gives us that ability to kind of deliver a result straight away. And it also is a good test of, I've found, the commercial maturity of a business. So if you say to a business owner, well, SEO is great, have you thought about AdWords? And usually, so it's part of our qualifying process. So usually you can gauge how commercially savvy they are by their response. So they'll be like, oh, I'm not paying for clicks. I mean, well, you're paying for AdWords, which is indirectly paying for clicks anyway. So I use it as a good test there. And also it's a good way to test the budget. If they're not willing to, we'll say to the client, let's test a campaign for this product. Let's test it for 2 or 3 months at $1,000 a month budget or $5,000 a month budget, and then review it after 3 months. If they can't have that conversation without injecting a lot of emotion into it, that for me is usually a red flag that they probably don't understand the mechanics of marketing, that they have to pay $1, and if they make $10 back, they've won, and that's ultimately what the game's about. So I use that as a qualifier as well. And I think, and also so much of the SERP is taken up by ads now. In some searches, more than half the page is going to be PPC. So you have to be realistic that the top of the page and organic is often, more than a scroll down the page, like when you get past all the paid stuff. So from a delivering results to the client perspective, you're kind of hurting them if you don't at least put AdWords on the table and suggest it. So, and especially with things now, we're seeing like paid placement in like the snack pack as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Do you also get, like, one thing I love about AdWords is I can turn it on today and it's basically research. It's instantly going to tell me which sort of keywords are performing, anything like that. So when you start ranking, we know all that data straight away.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, you can't really get clean keyword data anywhere anymore. It's the only way to get clear, exact keyword data, especially like you might be able to get really accurate keyword data, but it still doesn't, you're not going to get it for your location and per device and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty small investment. You think about it, if you run an AdWords campaign at $1,000 budget for a month, even if you don't get a high impression share, you'll get a very good idea of what the search terms are, and you can kind of reverse engineer the real numbers based on the impression share. So it's a super powerful tool from that perspective, I reckon.
Are you running them in conjunction, like endlessly, or do you get the SEO up then switch, or is it a mix of both?
We do both. Because on some devices, like on a mobile device, for example, almost always on anything that's search that's going to be anyway commercial, above the fold is all just going to be paid ads. So particularly on mobile devices, and depends on what industry it is as well, but we'll typically run them both continuously forever. And that allows us to keep, we keep the relationship going because, the customer needs someone to manage the ad spend. And if they're making profit from it, it doesn't matter. Like,
exactly,
so long as they're putting $1 in and getting a return, and that's profitable for them, who cares where the traffic comes from, really? So, it's like any traffic source, like Facebook ads as well. You'll run them for as long as they're profitable. So it's, I think in the SEO space, there's this like, ooh, I don't do paid traffic, or it's, SEO is free traffic.
I'm better than that.
Yeah, SEO is not free. You're just really devaluing your knowledge. Like that knowledge that you have, an ability to rank someone, that didn't come for free. You've invested a bunch of time on it.
Yeah.
You might have a way to monetize
it. If you spend like $100, $200 per PBN site, that's a cost.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's not free, and I think, the fact that people think that SEO traffic is free probably just highlights that they're seeing it the wrong way. Like it's all traffic, it all has a cost, just the numbers work differently in different ways. And also there's a risk with SEO, like it's at some point the client is going to have a problem where the rankings drop off, or the strategy you use doesn't work anymore. It's going to need some extra love, or the client's going to call you up one day and they'll be like, well, we're now at the bottom of the page, what's going on? So it's really just a marketing channel. And if you're doing search engine stuff, it's crazy to me that you'd only offer SEO when AdWords is often a lot easier, quick hit, better relationship with the customer, everybody sees a better result, and you can charge the customer more if you're doing SEO and AdWords as well. So
yeah, I want to go back to a point you mentioned earlier when you said getting like a $5,000 a month client, or it's very easy to justify like $5,000 a month to a real business. Can you expand on that?
Well, a couple of things. Like traditional businesses, if you look at, let's call it traditional business that's bricks and mortar, or it's successful, or it's multi-million-dollar revenue, and then they run the books by the numbers. They're not just kind of a mum and dad business, or a handful of people running a small business. If you look at SEO is one marketing channel, AdWords is another, Facebook ads is another. So if you look at all the marketing channels in terms of cost and return, those businesses, especially if they've been around for a while, they're used to paying, like we used to for our online store. Back in the early 2000s, we used to pay for magazine ads, and they'd be $3,000 to $5,000 for a full-page magazine ad in a computer magazine that would run for 1 month. So if you think about that in terms of ad spend, and you're charging $1,000 a month for SEO that sticks around forever, that or sticks around for a long time anyway, it has kind of a residual effect. The SEO is really cheap, and you're giving them a huge result. So, and if you look at other channels like TV advertising, full-page newspaper ad or half-page newspaper ad in like a major city newspaper, it's going to be $20,000, $30,000, something like that.
Absolutely,
so it's perspective, and I think a lot of it is because a lot of SEOs are a small team, or they're a single consultant, so they kind of view it from their perspective as, if I had 2 clients at $5,000 a month, I'd have like a 6-figure income or whatever. Whereas they're not really seeing it as they're a service provider, they're a marketing agency, and if they choose the right clients, if they're not tiny little kind of solo solopreneur businesses, if they choose the right clients, then they can charge appropriately, and then the client's stoked because they've gone from paying tens of thousands of dollars for print advertising or even yellow pages. Typical small business yellow pages spend 50 or 100 grand a year. They've gone from that to online, where they can track it, see what's going on, they're seeing results, it works. It's you can charge less, still make a lot of money, it's profitable, they're stoked, you're stoked, everybody's happy. So
just like you mentioned earlier, if you invest in $1 and get $10 back, they're going to be happy all day long.
Yeah. I think, it's important. This is only going to work if you're dealing with a business owner that is commercially mature. They understand these commercials and, and that they can sell. I've had so many times where we've dealt with a client, we've got them a whole bunch of traffic and calls and whatever, and they can't convert it because they can't sell. So there's a lot of pieces to the puzzle there to get it to work. And certainly you're going to get a lot of attention as like an SEO guy. Absolutely, the small guys are going to be all over you because they're desperate to be number one to make the business work. The thing about the bigger clients that John Logar was talking about, they're not desperate. You're going to have to chase them. You're going to have to find them and get in front of them. They're not going to be the people, or often they're not going to be the people that you just bump into or get referred to. So it's a different kind of client, and you need a different mindset in order to sell them. So, and they're also not so worried about, you see in the Facebook group, people talking about what reports do I give the client? Do I tell them what links I'm making? They don't care. We've done phone reports for clients before, and it looks pretty, and there's a pretty graph, and all our clients get PDF reports from Google Analytics. We use Raven tools to generate those, but almost always the client will know if they're getting more sales. They'll be like, they know the phone's ringing. They see the dollars coming in. So it's a different type of engagement that I think a lot of SEO people, particularly at the small end, aren't used to. So they kind of undersell themselves, and they're stuck in that $1,000 a month kind of market. So
if the business owner is, I can't remember the word you use, but they understand business well and they're happy to invest, then they're not going to be caring about looking at the stats every day, seeing how many visitors get. They just know that it's working.
Yeah, and commercially mature is the word I use. Or commercially savvy. They have a business to run. They don't want to talk to you every day. They want to have a meeting, once a month or once a fortnight. They want to, they want to know the numbers. They don't want to know the story. They want to know they've given you a bunch of money and they got more in return. That's it at the end of the day. All the mechanics and all the detail underneath, that only becomes a problem if they're not seeing a result. That's when they start to look at what's going wrong, or they're questioning what you're doing or the value you're delivering. If their phone rings all day long, they'll be happy. If they see dollars coming in, then you'll be their best friend.
Absolutely. Do you track then any sort of results for them, like the phone calls?
We used to. We don't really anymore. We track conversions through the website, and we generally push any call tracking back to them. So if they want to do it, we can have a conversation about it. But a lot of the bigger ones, they have systems in place where they know, like I said, they know if they're selling more, and also they don't want to change phone numbers and be tied into tracking systems. If those numbers get out to the public, then they're kind of going to be tied to them forever. So we have a handful of clients we do it for, but most are we're tracking it internally and they know. So but we do track conversions. We track anything that has a form or some sort of booking or some way we can track those kind of online conversions. We'll do that.
That makes sense. My question was, because when it comes to AdWords, how do you know if the ads are performing on your end?
Well, we'll try and track the conversions as much as we can, and usually we have a conversation about they'll have their sales data and then and their CRM data. So usually for those bigger guys, they have something on their end that's capturing the leads, and if it's e-commerce, then we're capturing the sales through the checkout, and we can see that data anyway.
Okay. Do you have any advice then for someone that wants to start doing AdWords for a local client or anything, setting up the ads or just beginner mistakes?
I guess just sell someone on it and do it, jump in the deep. Same as SEO. I say that. There's a balance. You have to be responsible with clients' money. I think the SEO industry has there's a lot of cowboys out there that will take the client's money and
probably.
You can do real damage to people's businesses if you're irresponsible with this stuff. But I guess if you have clients you're already doing business with, pick one or two that you have a closer relationship with and talk to them about it. That's how we got into it. So we started doing SEO in 2008. And then it was kind of limiting. It was like, okay, you rank number one, now what? And I'm like, well, let's do ads, let's do AdWords. So we started that way. And what I found with it, it's so much easier than SEO because it's so black and white. It's you run the ads for these keywords, you run these ads, it works or it doesn't work. There's no like sitting around waiting for rankings to go up. So I'm really surprised that more SEO people don't do AdWords because it's so much. It's so technical, like in the SEO space, but I find it much easier because it's just so black and white. There's a clear cause and effect. There's none of that. You're trying to guess which of the changes that you made
for
the
once,
difference.
Google actually want to give you good advice.
Yeah, exactly. And the way I see it is, Google is really a paid search engine with a handful of free results, whereas a lot of people see it the other way around, that it's a free search engine with paid results. I mean, their business is selling ads, so that's their primary product. So why wouldn't you get involved? And you can also see a lot, like we've learned a lot about on-page SEO, doing ads. Like we know what what ad copy works and what generates results, and like some of those small changes you make to an ad, if you change the copy, the top and bottom lines of an ad, like it can double the click-through rate. So then you learn things about writing meta descriptions and some of the on-page stuff.
Absolutely, you just copy that straight over to the on-page.
Yep, exactly.
Perfect, man. So I know one of your big things that you're a big advocate these days of, and it comes down to the SEO ranking factors, is having like a super fast hosting, or as fast as possible.
Yep.
Can you expand a little bit on like why that's so important on a local level?
Sure. So two parts of that. One is it needs to be super fast, and the other part is it needs to be super reliable. So it can be fast and it can be unreliable. So you can get like a HostGator or a Bluehost account to go pretty fast, but then as soon as they get traffic or the site gets a little bit of traffic, it's going to fall over. So, and they claim that they have 99% uptime. So that means it's still down for 3.4 days of the year, which is pretty big.
Yeah,
that's a lot of downtime. But basically, the hosting is the fundamental thing that everything's sitting on top of. So if it's slow, if it's unreliable, if it's insecure and gets hacked, then everything else that's stacked on top of it is going to have a problem. So if the hosting's slow, and we came across this problem when we started doing AdWords, because it doesn't matter as much. Well, it didn't matter as much back then if the site was slow with SEO. Now it does. And people have a lot less patience today because they have faster connections or whatever. But if someone's paying for traffic and the site's going offline, that's a problem because they're paying for traffic to something that's not there. So there's a direct loss of money there. It's not just opportunity cost. So we started looking at this. There's a couple of different angles we look at it. We're like, well, the sites are going offline. This is a problem. They're paying for traffic. So we need to fix that. So that was one aspect. And the other aspect was that we started selling hosting. And we started selling it because the site would go offline, the client would call us, so we were responsible for the hosting, but we weren't selling it, they were buying it from someone else, so we didn't have control over it. So if there was kind of a disconnect there, we were being made to be responsible for it, but we couldn't really be responsible because we couldn't control it. So that's where the whole hosting thing came out of, and what we found is now we can get a client that's on crap hosting, put them on good hosting, and they'll almost immediately see some sort of benefit. So sometimes it could be a ranking benefit, sometimes a conversion benefit, sometimes they're just happy that it's not slow anymore. So we started explaining in the workshops that, it starts at this foundational layer, because we've been doing these workshops for years for small businesses, and we're like, well, they don't understand anything, so we had to break it down to the core building blocks. So we're like, at the bottom you have the hosting. If the hosting sucks or it's broken, then everything else you stack on top of it is not going to work properly. So fix the hosting first. All the other bits, the SEO, the AdWords, the sales, the phone ringing, the checkout, the sales through the checkout, they all work better. So the first thing we do with any client is look at the hosting, fix it, sort out the SSL cert now, which is becoming more important. So that's kind of where that whole hosting and hosting speed came out of.
Yeah, I like it. Aside from the obviously benefits that it actually provides to your clients, I also like the idea that you're stacking all these like services on top of each other. Like you have the hosting, then you have the SEO, local SEO service, then you have AdWords management. Like it's all stacking it together.
Yeah, the other thing with the hosting was it was a really good way. So SEO, like an SEO business, is all about customer lifetime value. Like we talked about before.
Yeah.
It's all about how much value you can deliver the client and how much you can get paid for it. So it's really about the lifetime value of the client. So I'm happy to take on a little client if it doesn't cost us much and we have a high lifetime value out of that client. Some of those little clients we took on in the early days that we still have around, over the years they paid us $50,000, $70,000 over the course of that relationship. And we're not on the phone every day, so they don't need a lot of attention and energy, and they don't need a lot of love, so it's a very profitable relationship. So it's all about lifetime value in that respect. So the maximum value we can deliver to the client, the maximum value we can get out of the client. And hosting was a good way to increase our LTV from the client. So we had little clients, we'd build them a website, we'd do some basic SEO. They were in a country town or a regional area. They ranked number 1. We had the AdWords dialed in. It was kind of like, well, we can't really do any more. They're kind of like in maintenance mode.
Yeah.
So we started doing hosting, so our hosting's not cheap. So our highest hosting plan, it's not cheap for a small business. So it's $250 a month is our highest hosting plan right now.
Okay.
So as part of that, we do WordPress patches, we do maintenance, we keep the on-page stuff, the basic on-page stuff up to date, and they get some of our premium plugins. So the little guys aren't on that. So most of the little guys are on a $55 a month plan or $50 a month plan. So it's a good way to get more value out of the client. It's a good way to increase the LTV of a client. So a little client, the LTV might be $5,000 over the course of a couple of years. So that was an easy way to almost double that, or add another $2,000 or $3,000 of LTV on top of it.
That's awesome. Would you recommend someone running an SEO agency now, or just starting out with it, to go stack all this stuff straight away, or a little bit of patience?
So the hosting for us was quite easy because I have an IT background, so I understood all the mechanics. There's probably a middle ground where you could put clients on a managed WordPress host that you get affiliate commission for, or you're reselling someone else's hosting. Like WP Engine is, they're great because it's secure, it's fast, they take care of caching, they take care of patches. The platform has security built in. So there's probably a middle ground there where you just move your clients onto WP Engine and they pay them directly. You take the affiliate commission for the sign up. And once you've got a bit of a traction with that, then potentially like resell something else. So you're basically selling it directly to the client or white label something. So
yeah. I really love the idea of like stacking things up and just increasing the LTV of your clients. That's ultimately how you're going to make the most money possible.
Yeah, and those little guys.
Value.
Yeah, I mean, we do support plans as well now. So we do like a fixed fee support plans that are generally about $100 a month, and they get 5 small fixes a month. So we ran the numbers, and most small business clients, the little guys, are paying somewhere between $700 to $1,000 a year in just hourly support for fixing things. So the support plan is a way we get consistent revenue. They're happy.
Yeah.
They perceive them, they're not getting weird big bills because something breaks on the website, they want to change something. So that was another way on top of the hosting, that suddenly we have all these little guys that we couldn't really monetize after we'd done all the work, and they had they were number 1 for everything, and everything was working, and now suddenly we have an ongoing relationship and effectively another business stacked on top of the SEO and AdWords stuff.
It's very cool. I love that. It's a very cool way of doing things. Hey, you sent me some notes before this, and one of the things you mentioned I'm really curious about. You said we generally don't do keyword research for local SEO.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean?
So our strategy with keywords and content is this. So we don't do keyword research anymore because the data is so murky, it's pretty much useless, especially in very niche markets. So what you'll find is there's good clients in niche markets. We do a lot of stuff with mining and industrial clients where if they get one project, it could be $500,000 or $1 million. So there's not a huge amount of search volume. There might be 100 searches a month. So that data is like super murky, and they're like super technical terms that their clients are using, so they might not even appear on keyword tools. So we kind of started doing this thing where we got the client to actually, instead of us telling them keywords, we said, well, okay, tell us what you sell. So brainstorm a list of, spend 10 minutes, write everything you sell down on a piece of paper or an Excel doc, whatever it is, and then prioritize them in the list that you want to sell them, like top to bottom. Some of them you might not want to sell anymore. And then from there, what we do is match every page up on the website. It's kind of like the silo, the SEO silo thing in a very kind of simple format. So, at the most basic level, it's very hard to rank in Google for something you don't have a page of content for. So we're like, okay, you want to sell these 10 things, but you've only got 2 of them on the website. So step 1, let's build out some content pages for these products. So that made sense to them totally. And as soon as we had the content up, obviously they started ranking higher and getting more traffic for these products or services. And then we were like, well, they're new on the website, so it's going to take a while to rank them. So let's do AdWords. Let's do a trial. Particularly for some of these guys, where it's like you do a project that's $500,000, your AdWords spend is $200 a month. Like, these numbers are insane.
By the way, interjecting quickly, with the AdWords, how do you price it?
Good question. Particularly in those niche markets, you're going to be paying less than $5 a month a click. So we will say you need to be a minimum of $1,000 a month for these test budgets. It really depends on the market. Like, if it's a plumber where the cost per click is $20, $30 a click, that doesn't work. So I'll know by the search terms roughly what they cost because I'm familiar with it. So it just depends on the client and the market they're in. For hosting, for example, we do PPC for our own hosting, and the cost per click is $20 to $40 a click, so it's pretty pricey.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we started doing these AdWords campaigns, and then we got all this keyword data, and it was really clear. It was a real shortcut, like we just talked about before. Like, the data is all there. It tells you exactly what these weird technical terms are that their customers are using that we don't understand. So we can see the data, and we get all this really rich keyword data. So instead of doing keyword research on the front end, that's the process we now use.
Love it.
And they get much faster results because it's all logic, and it's kind of just based in basic salesmanship. Like, you can't rank for that product if you don't have a page for it. A customer can't buy it if you don't have a page for it. So by doing this process, building these pages, we achieve kind of the goals in a roundabout way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. Actually, it's really interesting you say that, because I follow a similar sort of process if I rank like local lead gen sites or anything. It's just like, go for the client, like, what's a list of all the services you sell, and then what's a list of all the areas you want to target, prioritized again by which areas are going to bring the best customers, and then create all the pages and do the exact same sort of process. Like, it just makes sense. And it's self-explanatory as well on a local level. Like, people are going to search like the service name and the area name and stuff like that.
Exactly. And it also helps in the sales process, because they're going to ask, how does SEO work? So it's like, well, okay, here is the first step we do, and we explain this process, and like, oh, that makes total sense. Like, that's totally obvious. I didn't realize that. And we're also like, well, if you have the pages already, we say they have to be 1.5 scrolls long. So, because if we say 500 words, they have no idea what that means. So 1.5 scrolls, they need a few pictures, and basically the customer has to, and I think we talked about this in the SEO, in the e-commerce episode, that the customer should be able to go to that page and have all the information they need to make a buying decision, or like the next step decision, without having to click around the site. So if you build the content from that frame or that perspective, then all of a sudden it's really easy to do 2 pages of content, because you can have a paragraph this big with a contact form that takes up half a page. So you're already half the way there just by having some of those basic content elements.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm encouraging people these days to add more and more content to like their home pages and stuff for local SEO.
Yeah,
it makes sense anyway. It's going to help them convert, as you said, and also it helps from an SEO perspective from having all that content on the page.
Yeah, and if they're an established business, they already have those conversations with customers. Like, they're like, I don't know what to write. It's like, well, you're talking to customers all day long. What are the 3 things they ask you about this before they buy? Like, that's what needs to be on the page. Like, what is the product you're selling? Why they should buy it? What's the problem it solves? Maybe how much it costs, or a ballpark price, and some of the common questions. If if it's a product, then the manufacturer will probably have a video half the time, so you can go and take that video. There's some more content, a couple of photos, a contact form. And that's 2 pages of content easily. So,
absolutely, yeah, that's a very good point. With link building, do you do anything fancy?
No. So our process is to do links last. So we have 4 parts, and we basically built this process again from having to explain it to small business owners. So we have 4 parts to SEO, and this is for local SEO. Doesn't necessarily work for affiliate SEO or different types of SEO, but basically we break it down into 4 parts. So we have hosting, the technology bit, and the general best practices. So that's where we start. So that's the first thing we look at. So we fix the hosting. We look at just the general best practices stuff. Webmaster Tools, are they in Google Maps, Bing Maps, Apple Maps? Do they have live chat on the site? Is the site running an SSL? Is it smartphone compatible? Does the contact form on the contact page work? Like, that really basic stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's hugely important.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a checklist. And if you're missing 1 or 2 of these things, like if you're missing a maps listing, just by going and getting the maps listing, automatically their phone's probably going to ring more. So, for some businesses, just by going and set up a Google Maps listing, they've probably paid for like 3 months of your service. So that's where we start. So we start with that hosting stuff and some of that best practices, and a lot of those clients will be getting traffic already. So just by fixing simple things like putting the phone number in the header of the site, a lot of the time they'll get double the inquiries or double the calls or whatever. So that's where we start, and then we go through that content process. So we get them to brainstorm the products and services they sell, and then we build out the content pages and add it to the website and do all that sort of stuff. So we already talked about that. Then we do the on-page SEO. So one of the big things we do is really custom write the meta descriptions. So we have we have a way of doing it that really increases CTR. So we can take someone who's in the #1 spot or in the top 3 spots, rewrite the meta descriptions for those pages, and they'll automatically get more traffic. So even in the top spot, we can probably get them 30 to 50% more traffic just by writing a better meta description. Ultimately, the search results are a page full of ads, right? So if you write the meta description with copy that would go on an ad that sells a click, then you're going to get way more clicks. There's kind of this assumption that if you're in the #1 spot, you'll get all the clicks, but that's not true, because you've got a page full of ads now, you've got some Google Maps listings with a bunch of reviews, you might have other people who have rich snippets or review snippets showing and you don't, so it's a lot more competitive than it used to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we do that. That's a big thing we focus on, and just general on-page SEO stuff. And then we look at link building last. So link building is expensive, it's risky, it may or may not work, and it can take time to work. So there's not necessarily direct connection between doing links and ranking straight away, whereas there's a direct cause and effect by, have a page of content, we'll start ranking for that search term. So we look at links last, and then we'll do PBNs very last if we need to, but there's so much low-hanging fruit, like video sites, just video stuff in general, citation sites, industry directories, the big social networks. Like, we'll do all that stuff first, and then we'll look at PBNs.
I presume sometimes you rank before you even need to get around to the links.
Yeah, particularly in a regional area. If you're doing work for someone who's in a small town or not like a capital city type location, then usually you can get away with doing all that stuff, not even touch like PBNs or the expensive links, and then they'll be in the top 3 spots at least, especially if they're like a niche or specialty service that only has a handful of competitors. So,
absolutely. With the videos, how do you get those links? Do you pay a professional people to go do videos? Is it just like a Fiverr presentation?
One thing we do a lot of that I didn't talk about was, so one of my business partners is a professional photographer. So he's a professional photography studio. So where possible, we'll try and push the client to do proper commercial photography. So
that's never upsell.
We talk about, well, not really. We don't make any money from it, but it helps conversion hugely. So we talk about the 3 Ps. So 3 Ps of photography: your people, your premises, and your products and services. So we try and have all 3 of those and photos on the website, because they just look good. They look real.
I like it, yeah.
They're a fantastic, because you're competing with so many other people now. So it's a fantastic way to stand out.
It's definitely worse than going to a restaurant. They don't have pictures of their food and stuff like that.
Exactly right. So it's an easy way. Like, if someone's looking at your client's website, there's no doubt they're looking at 2 other competitors' websites. So it's an easy way to stand out. So usually we'll do photography first before video if we're getting professional video shot. We'll try and shortcut the process. If the manufacturer has videos, then it may be outside the terms of copyright, but we'll go and grab those videos and put them on the client's YouTube channel. And then a sneaky thing we do to go and dominate the SERPs is set up a Vimeo and Dailymotion channel, put the videos on there, rewrite the titles and descriptions slightly so they're like, there might be the second keyword variant, and also put the video on the Facebook page and put backlinks and all the descriptions. And if you have an e-commerce site or a site that has 10 or 20 videos, those links can be quite powerful. And then if you take the RSS feeds from all those video sites and put them into a couple of RSS feed directories, then you'll get a lot of low-hanging fruit links from those kind of aggregators that, while they're not great, they're good kind of pillow link kind of things, like low-quality links that, they just boost the link profile. And for whatever reason, that strategy just works really well. Like, having the video on the page and doing that seems to really rank, particularly for those low to medium competition terms, without really doing much else.
Yeah, I mean, local SEO is relatively simple, isn't it? Because they want real businesses. That's who they're trying to get to rank.
Yep, exactly.
So this stuff just
And
makes
yeah,
sense.
so many tools, right? Like reviews are so easy to do, and it's so easy to set up. So long as the client is good at what they do, it's so easy to set up a system where they ask automatically every time they do a job. Like we have a big plumbing franchise, and we've implemented a review system. Every time they do a job, they just have an automatic thing that goes out asking for the reviews. And not everyone's going to do it, but if they're doing across the business 200 jobs a day, and we get 5 or 10 reviews a day, you know, that's a lot of reviews over the course of a year.
Crazy amount, yeah.
Yeah, it's almost impossible for a competitor starting at 0 to beat that. Like, you can't. They're just so far ahead.
How do you create that?
It's pretty simple. Like, there's a lot of tools out there now to do reviews. Sometimes it's just a basic system we set up. Like, we'll set up a gravity form, a hidden page with gravity forms on the site to do that logic. And then there's other reviews out there that will, other tools out there that will send they're $20 a month or whatever. They send the email to the customer. They come to a feedback page, and if they give over 7 out of 10, they ask them to put a review on Google or Facebook or wherever it is.
Yeah, I like that. It's like if it's above like 7 or above, it's like leave a review. If it's less than that, it's like send us some feedback.
Yeah,
like privately. It's smart though. You figure out issues with the business as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like the smart businesses will use that feedback to improve themselves. The problem, that's becoming a real problem now, is that you can rank a business. You can do all the work in the world. They can rank them number 1 and whatever. But if the business sucks and they get bad reviews, it's no matter how much reputation management you're doing, like no matter how aggressive you are, if the business fundamentally sucks, then it's going to be an uphill battle. And one thing we teach is that the web amplifies sentiment. So if people think your business sucks, then the web becoming more prominent and more powerful is just going to that's like a megaphone. You're telling everybody the business sucks. Whereas the business is great, like whatever they do, they're good at providing that service, then the web's going to amplify that sentiment as well. So I think that's important when you're dealing with clients, that you need to make sure that they're doing a good job in a way, because no matter how good you are, if they suck, then that's not going to be a very good long-term relationship for you. So.
That's very true. Do you add that to the qualification?
Yeah, like we won't deal with anybody who's dodgy or sitting in a career. It's just not worth it. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, last time we chatted, you recommended a few tools. I remember you mentioned like Process Street, which is awesome. I started using that in my business actually. Do you have any other tool recommendations to use?
I love Raven Tools because the PDF reports are really awesome.
Raven Tools.
So we've been using Raven Tools for like 8 years or something like that. They used to have an awesome rank tracker. But they got Google told them they couldn't use their API, so they had to shut that down. That was like 5 years ago. But we use Raven Tools. That's probably the oldest tool we've been using. And we use that, like it has a good site auditor, but we use that for so basically any client we deal with, they get now automated monthly, on the first of the month, they get a PDF report that looks really good, that just pulls the data from Google Analytics and a couple of other places if we want. So that's probably one of the key ones. What else? We use SERPFox. Everyone knows about that.
Yep.
Screaming Frog SEO Spider. Everyone probably knows about that as well.
Surprisingly, a lot of people still don't use it though.
Yeah, there's a couple other. There's like some. There's a Chrome browser extension called Nap Hunter. So like there's a handful of tools we use for like fixing like nap consistency issues and citations. We use Bright Local a lot. We do a lot of citation stuff with Bright Local. Probably the big one is Zendesk. Like we just wouldn't be able to deal with this business if we didn't have Zendesk and Process Street.
That's how you track like hundreds of clients.
Yeah. Zendesk has so much automation built into it. It's just amazing. So we actually just upgraded now to like one of the enterprise plans. So it's like $60 a month per user. So it's not cheap, but we wanted some of those extra features. But like today, so it's the start of the month. So anyone who's on maintenance or has an active support plan, all the Process Street WordPress maintenance jobs trigger. So like it creates hundreds of tickets in the system. So we just would have no way to deal with that without Zendesk. So.
Let's go on Zendesk. If someone emails you, I guess it automatically brings it into Zendesk, and how's that work?
So some of a lot of stuff still hits my inbox, unfortunately. But yeah, we try and push people into Zendesk. We try and do everything in Zendesk, and it's like a rule of it. If it's not in Zendesk, it doesn't exist. So to do something, it ideally has to be in Zendesk. Okay. Although I'm probably the biggest breaker of that rule, and I'm like, can you just do this? Like, there's no ticket for it.
It's always the business owners that's going to do that.
Yeah, so I love Zendesk. Zapier is a big one. Like we have so many apps doing different things, and we watch a lot of client assets with Zapier. Like we watch, like a lot of our long-term clients will have Zaps to watch their YouTube channels and things like that. So if they put stuff up there, we'll know, and we'll know to go and automate it. Like some clients, e-commerce clients, we watch the RSS feed. So if they put new products in there, then it creates tickets to do stuff, because often they'll add a bunch of products and won't tell anybody. Yeah, that's it really. It's nothing magic really. It's probably the process is the big thing. Like we're really heavy about the commerciality around the things we do, and like it's all about, at the end of the day, we're not really selling SEO. We're there to help the client sell more stuff. So we kind of generally do whatever it takes. Like we use like Lucky Orange as a tool we use a lot. Because it uncovers a lot of, like, I don't know if you've used it shows you videos of customers on the website. So,
okay, yeah, I think you mentioned it last time as well. It sounds really cool.
Yeah, and we use Drift Live Chat is what we're using for a lot of clients. That's what we use now, and I like Drift because it's really cheap, but it has a really good customer interface on the website, so it's really nice from a website visitor perspective to use.
Do you use that on your local clients?
Yeah, more and more, because we used to use Zopim, but Zopim's super clunky from a website visitor perspective. So Drift is really nice, and it has a free, I don't know if it's still free, but I was actually talking to a client about this morning, but it has a free option for up to 100 live chats a month. So that's
quite a lot.
Yeah, so, and the app works really well, like it's really simple. So for our less tech-savvy customers, we're like, well, let's try live chat, see what happens. Try it for a month. The tool's free. You have a smartphone already. Like and the thing about Drift is it's really good at capturing the chats that you miss. So even if you're not getting a lot of the chats or you're busy or whatever, it still is really good at capturing the email address. So there's not a lot of leakage, like missed live chats. So those are probably the two big things we're using right now for conversion, Drift and Lucky Orange.
I guess that increases the conversions anyway, just having the live chat option on the page.
Yeah, it's like for us, for our hosting, like I think probably half the customers we sell hosting will talk on live chat, even if they don't get a quick instant response. Like a lot of them are like 10 o'clock at night, which is really weird, but we respond to those in the morning and they're totally happy. So
fair enough.
It's kind of like having the phone number on the website thing. It's just a trust builder. Like people might not necessarily call, but just they know it's there, so it's like a subconscious trigger or trust builder or whatever you want to call it. So
absolutely. So what is it you work on these days?
Right now, I work in a hosting business. That's a part of the business that I really want to build. So we've just had a big strategy review around that, and where to next. So we're working on right now. Hopefully, in the next 2 weeks, we'll have 24/7 support for that.
Wow.
And we need to building a bigger platform. So we want to have 3,000 customers on it within the next kind of 18 to 24 months. So to do that, we need to check a whole bunch of boxes first. So that's my big project for the next 3 or 6 months, is to get that dialed in. We also do a lot of kind of related to that, like we have this product called WP Speed Fix. We do a lot of fixing slow WordPress websites, which is it's a little bit of what we do for SEO clients, and it's what we do for the hosting clients as well. So we just started doing it as a service. So we do a lot. We're going to do an info product version of that, because there's probably 100 things that can slow down a WordPress website. So that and the hosting is kind of my next 3-month plan right now. Awesome, and selling people.
That's where
That's the bit I like. That's what I like doing. If I could just sell all day and just give the sales docket to somebody, that would be like perfect. Talk on the phone, have coffee, or have tea, whatever.
The funny thing is, some people get into SEO and they forget that it's their job to sell, and they try and do everything but the actual sales.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, like if you're passionate about something, it can be really easy to get sucked down into the detail and like really just enjoy doing the work.
Yeah.
Which is great, but at the end of the day, it's sales and marketing is what makes the business. So yeah, I mean, I used to suck at selling. Like when we had an IT company in our online store, I had a business partner who's the sales guy. So when we parted ways, I didn't know how to sell, so that was the bit that I had to learn. I used to hate the telephone. Now I love talking on the telephone. Well, I don't even talk on the telephone. I talk on Skype now. But yeah, I used to be afraid of the telephone. So
you love it when you start making money from it.
Well, that's it. That's the way you got to see it. Like, this is a money-making machine. Now, I can talk to anyone in the world for free now on Skype, pretty much, or almost free. and they give me money. And now today people are comfortable signing up for thousands of dollars a month that auto bills their credit card. Like 5 years ago, that was quite hard to do, but now people don't really have an issue with that.
Yeah,
like everyone,
entirely over the phone.
People wanted to meet before and see what you were like and have coffee or come to your office. Now it's great. Everyone's too busy, or just the world has changed. Like I think smartphones have been great because people are comfortable doing video calls, and they're happy doing business over the phone and doing business remotely like that. So there's no chance at all 5 years ago, 8 years ago, I'd be able to run the business like we do today without any physical office presence and seeing people in person. So yeah, it's a very different world. It's very exciting. I think it's still like there's a wild west. People talk about the good old days, like only if I could do AdWords back in 2001, but like in 10 years time these are going to be the good old days. It's probably like
it's very true. I say the same thing.
You look at domain names, right? Like a domain name's $20 or whatever it is. Like 10 years time they're probably all going to be gone, and it's going to be $2,000 for a domain name, like minimum. Like these are like the wild west days of in 10 years time people will be looking back thinking, oh, I wish I got into FBA back then, or whatever it is, or
Yeah.
So.
Back then it was so easy, just threw some PBN links and
Yeah, exactly right. So
yeah. All right, any final words of wisdom or advice for like fellow SEO agency owners that's like newer stages?
Yeah, I'd say the big one is don't think of yourself as an SEO company, because that's very limiting. So that's where we started out, and now we just, our job is to help customers sell stuff online. So
Perfect.
I mean, we could do that with Facebook ads. It just happens that we like to focus on search because as Facebook ads is a totally different world. But yeah, I'd say look at the LTV. Like LTV is all about that's what's going to make or break the business, the lifetime value of your customers. Whether that's you're charging them $500 a month or $5,000 a month, that's a really important factor.
Yeah.
So I think it's very limiting if you just see yourself as an SEO guy or SEO business. You're leaving a whole bunch of money on the table. So, and absolutely, if you haven't listened to it, go and listen to John Logar's episode. Like he's an amazing sales guy. Sell anything to anybody. So he knows what he's talking about. That's for sure.
All right, man. Where can people find you? And also, your hosting solution, you sell that to other people as well, don't you? If people are watching this.
We do indeed. So the searchengineshop.com, the hosting solution is wpalpha.com.
All right, man. Cool. This has been fun.
Yeah, man. Good to talk.
Yeah. Definitely the first guest I've had on 2 times, like fully.
Sweet. Nice. Must be doing something right.
All right, man. Yeah, thanks again for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode, and I'll see you guys next week.